Hi there. My name is Gabriel, and I make music for a project called Fraxriel. And so I am here to answer some questions that you all asked on my Instagram. I made a question thing in my story, and you all sent in some things, and so I'm going to answer some of them and try to give something that at least resembles an answer. I can't promise that I'll give the best answers, but we're going to try. And if I mess up, then, there's always next time. What is your writing process like? Every writing process for every Fraxriel song is different. There isn't like a cookie cutter formula. I feel like every song has its own, way it starts. It can be anything from just a simple, I don't know, just the way a note is played, or, I don't know. I pull anything from any inspiration. Anything from any inspiration. Does that even make sense? But there is no cookie cutter formula. I don't really have a process. I mean, I do, but not really. It's really just messing around until something clicks and I like it enough to want to share it with, everybody online and put it on my Spotify and have people listen to it. And especially doesn't help, I guess, that every song is so different. I feel like, with Despise, every song on there almost feels like very different from each other. Like there's not like a consistent sound. There is, but there isn't. I don't know. Does that make sense? But yeah, that's gonna be my answer to the question. I am freestyling this, by the way. I did not rehearse any answers to any of these questions. I'm just reading them as I go and then try to whatever comes out comes out. It's kind of like my songwriting almost, So what inspired you to start doing metalcore? A lot of the bands I was listening to, I guess, at the time in high school, and a little bit before that actually too. Some of my early, inspirations and bands I was listening to were like Bring the Horizon, Under Oath, and Converge. A lot of bands like that. That were more on the heavier side almost. But then I got into some other, music outside of that afterwards. A lot of what I listen to now isn't too much metalcore, but that's more so for the sake of songwriting, so I don't sound like other bands. But it was bands like those that got me into that sound, and yeah, that's pretty much the answer. Like just the sounds, the music of bands I was listening to in high school. What's the hardest part of recording your own music? I love this question because I don't really get to talk about it too much. I feel like what the hardest part is it can usually just be time. How much more time consuming it is, I think, compared to having like 2 to 3 other people help with recording the music. When you get bands, you kind of like, bringing your brains together, and it can be awesome. You can make songs, in a day or a few hours. But I feel like when you're doing it by yourself, it really has to be a delicate process. You have to really take your time coming up with each part and making sure each part is cohesive with the other part and, isn't going to sound too far off. And, when, it's multiple people, it's less likely to get burnt out. You can take shifts of writing the song. You can have people, step in and record the parts and everything like that. I feel like I've actually spent the last 6 minutes on that question trying to think of a good answer. But that's probably going to be my answer to that question for now. And if you were to ask me tomorrow, my answer would probably be different. I don't know. I feel like there's so many different things to what probably could be the hardest part, but that's probably mine for right now. If you had any tips for starting out being a singer, what would it be? I feel like my suggestion would be to just find your own sound. I feel like when I was starting out, I was spending a lot of time mimicking other singers and metal vocalists out there, and I feel like that was a waste of time because everybody's different. I can't sound like you can't sound like me, and you cannot sound like the the favorite singer you're listening to. That's just not possible. So it's best to just pursue what your voice excels at best, and it's better anyways because you know, we already have like an Ollie Sykes, or we already have a Spencer Chamberlain. We already have all these different singers, so we don't need another one. Go be different. Go do something that, you know, you bring to the, you know, the scene that is, you know, not, you know, been done before. I'm still working on that a little bit. For me personally, I feel like I'm doing still a lot of, you know, trying to sound like other singers out there, but I've gotten a lot better. I have gotten a lot better, especially with this last record I put out. I feel like I'm definitely finding my own sound. It only took about like 7 to 8 years, but we're getting there. So that was the Q&A. I hope I gave half decent answers. You know, we'll do this again. We'll have more. This won't be the only one, but you know, that's going to be it for now. And then hopefully, I can get better at doing this. I don't usually do this, so we're going to get better. And yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.